Hey guys, so in the community, Neela had like a quite interesting question, and I think the answer is also going to be useful for you guys. So the answer was that how do you choose the right problem to solve? And I was writing like a quite hefty explanation about how to find the right problem and why it is important, but with like a little bit more sort of explanation. I want to give you guys like a video guide as well. So just imagine that, let's say in your town somebody was building a hotel, right? And inside the hotel there was an elevator. Let's just say a lot of people were complaining about the elevator, that the elevator is not being fast enough. There were a lot of complaints, so the hotel owner figured out that he wants to make the elevator faster. He was so certain that this could be the problem, right? People were complaining that the elevator is not fast enough. So he was calling an engineering team. They were spending a lot of time on like making the elevator much faster, improving the technicalities of it. In that time, they were losing a lot of money because the people were even like more unsatisfied because they couldn't use the elevator. They had to shut down some of their rooms because they just was busy with creating the elevator like more faster. They finished the elevator. They spent a lot of time, money, and effort into it. But unfortunately, after they improved the speed of the elevator, people were still complaining that the elevator is not being fast enough. How come that would be? And the answer is coming later when an interior designer also stays in the hotel and she notices that the elevator is just boring as hell. There was no mirrors in the elevator, there were no newspaper in the side of the elevator, the floor and the ceiling was quite boring. And as soon as they improve it, turns out people are not bored in the elevator anymore. So the moral of the story that you have to find the right problem, because the problem initially was not that the elevator wasn't fast enough. The problem was that the elevator simply was just boring. Therefore, people were complaining about the problem which they had. They know the answer to, but it turns out after like research that it was not the real problem. Okay? That's why it's important to find the right problem, because if you're solving the wrong problem, you're probably going to spend a lot of time, effort, and money on something which is not going to be the solution for your problem, right? And especially businesses doesn't like to do that, right? That's why you are on board. That's why you are a UX UI designer, because you're going to find that right problem. Okay, so let me just give you another example which is maybe going to sound better. So for example, one of your managers is going to ask you to create a new dashboard for a user, because let's say the users are having hard time finding the right shows on Netflix, for example. So there could be many different problems and solutions of how you would redesign it. So again, just remember the hypothesis that the Netflix dashboard is like too complicated, people having hard time finding the right shows what they want to watch. And the thing is that you might want to reduce the number of shows, you might want to give more information about the certain show, you might want to add like extra groups and topics of certain shows, you might want to improve the algorithm so it shows better shows or series for the user. Any of these could be a potentially good solution. But here we come again to the question, what is the right problem and why it is important to solve the right problem? Because, you could do even more options. You could do many different solutions for solving that initial problem, but you don't know which one is the right problem to solve. Again, if you're solving the right problem, you're wasting time, money, and effort. Business owners especially doesn't like that, okay? So how you are going to find the right problem to solve? Very good question. And the answer is by research. Long story short, okay? So the best way to find the right problem is by talking to users, many users, hopefully usually like 5 to 10 users initially, about the problem. You want to also conduct a stakeholder review, perhaps, okay? You want to talk to the management, you want to get as much angle as possible and as much information as possible. You also could look at user behavior on the site. If they have like recordings from the website, you could look at like what other competitors are doing to solve this set of problems. You also could conduct like a usability testing live. You could ask your friends, colleagues, if you have like access to the users, you could also ask them like, okay, how would you tackle this problem, or what do you think when you're doing this, or how do you find the right shows, blah 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 blah. You're going to gather a bunch of information, and then you're going to synthesize them, right? This is what we are doing in the middle of the design thinking process. Let me just jump there, actually. So this is what we are doing here, right? The design thinking process, which you have to understand. First, we are gathering information, conducting the research. Then we're going to understand the information. This is when we are synthesizing all of the data which we gathered. We're going to define like what could be the problem, and then we're going to figure out our solution, right? And basically, the design thinking method is the solution for this question, like how do I find the right problem? The simple answer is do research, do a simple, fast research, even if you're not required to do so by your peers or by your managers. Do it regardless, because if you're not doing research, if you don't know what you are up against, then you might not going to solve the right problem, and that is really, really important. Okay, do the research, synthesize the information, make your conclusions, find the possible solution, then you're going to test the solution. That's another question for another day. But essentially, this is how you can conduct and find the right problem by doing research. Okay, and that was it, actually. Thank you very much for being here with me. I hope it was useful. If you guys have any more questions in mind, feel free to ask it in the group. Okay, sometimes I'm quite late on like answering them. Trying my best though. See you later.